This is the first time I've ventured up here since the summer, really. I've been up once or twice, but life got in the way, things started happening, work got busy, and I never really had a chance after maybe August, September time to come up here, really. So, yeah, it's just been sat up here dormant ever since, and there's quite a change in the temperature since I was here last time. It's 8:30 in the morning at the minute, and it's where are we? Maybe the 15th of December, something like that, 14th or 15th. So we're still in the middle of a cold snap, and yeah, it's cold. I think I did, if I'm honest, sort of lose my patience with it all a bit. I'd put a lot of work into the wiring and the programming of the Arduinos to sort out all the startup and the point motors and the switches and all that stuff. And I did put a lot of hours in. I was really kind of, it was quite maybe bordering on obsession. And then once I got it all working, a few niggles started. There were derailments and a few just odd things that weren't quite working properly, and I just didn't have the patience. I think that was part of it as well. I think I'd just had enough. So when suddenly a load of derailments started happening, I just kind of got a little bit sick of it all, I think, and needed a break. I did see a video, I can't remember who made it, in the summer. Someone advised people to lay track in the heat because track expands in the heat. So naturally, if you laid it in the hottest weather, it wouldn't expand. But of course, then the reverse is true. If you lay track in heat and you leave ample gaps, then come the cold weather, the track will get smaller, will shrink, and you'll therefore end up with gaps bigger than you would like. And that seems to be what's happened here. And I did try to leave a few gaps, kind of. Maybe it's not the best idea to leave gaps for expansion when the weather's at its hottest, but I did, and I think maybe I've just got a few gaps that are bigger than ideal now, and then especially on on the entry at the points, they're knocking trains off the track a little bit. I've sort of known this for a while, and I didn't have the patience, I didn't have it in me to fix them, but I think I probably do now. So my next step really is going to be to rip up a few pieces of track and replace them with slightly longer pieces. There are a couple of better examples here. This was under one of the upper baseboards, just kind of by where the incline is at the back, and here it's become completely disconnected, uncoupled at the bottom there. And I think these ones, I don't know, they look better, they just look worse because there's no sleepers on them. But yeah, here it's retracted so badly that it's completely disconnected, so something along this line is going to need to be replaced pretty quickly. And actually, having looked at it again, it's shrunk here and then really not far along down here, which was all scruffy because it was under covers. It's become completely disconnected here as well, so that's massive shrinkage, really. And another one here that's causing derailments as well. This is actually set track heading off down there. I'm hoping I'll be able to centralise this one a little bit, as the joints at the other end are still firmly touching, so I'm hoping I can just move it a little bit in this direction. I'll have to unscrew it, and then hopefully there'll be equal gaps, slightly smaller than this at both ends, and it might just survive. This is the connection at the other piece of track, which other end of the track, which is pretty solid. So I'm just going to try and shove it to the right as the camera looks at it here, and see if I can at least even out the gap a little bit. And here now I've closed the gap a little bit, moved the track in this direction. Of course, what I can't do is completely fill the gaps up, because I know that the rails are going to expand again when the hot weather comes back. So really it's just a case of centralising them as best as I can, so they have a bit of room to grow on each end. I've maybe closed the gap a little bit more on this end, because this is where it's coming off a set of points, and it's more likely to derail where the connection at the other end of this piece of track is just on a straight, and the train's all straightened out by then, so it's less likely to come off with a bit of a gap in the track. And that's now those two pieces of track closed up together, and the APT's had a couple of test runs around and seems much smoother. As it goes through, so that's another gap closed. I'm still collecting up these old cheap tablets because they're still really useful in here. This one's 7 or 8 years old now and was cheap when it was bought, but it's got a big enough screen to be able to hold the whole of the current track map on it. And this is just JMRI being very clever, and JMRI has a web server and it will render any windows. If I go over to the point in the direction of the JMRI software running on the Raspberry Pi over there, it will render any open window in a web browser. So it's just that track map that's over there that's now being rendered in the web browser here, which very handily gives me touchscreen control over all of the points. I can have as many of these tablets as I like, so it doesn't have to. I don't necessarily have to be able to render the whole thing in one screen. If this is, I mean, the main use of this one is it's above those 4 sets of points down there, and so any others that were in other parts of the room could have their own map drawn. You have design as many maps as you like as well. So I'm going to try and get the deltic going up the hill. So I'm going to click on or hit this one. There it goes, and it's gone red. So now what should happen, I haven't tested this yet, is that the deltic should go up the hill now when it comes across here. And there it goes. And while I stand here happily watching the APT come the other way, I need to remember, of course, that I've now got to close that set of points, or I'm going to get derailment when the deltic comes back around. So back up here and just hit this one. And that's closed now. And when the deltic comes around, which it isn't far away from now, should be clean across. So I guess what feels like for the first time in a long time, I've actually got the 3 lines running smoothly again, it appears, which is an encouraging step forward. I think maybe 1 or 2 of these issues were little niggles anyway before the cold weather came. I think maybe one of the pieces of track wasn't quite long enough when I laid it, and I just couldn't be bothered at the time to fix it. But this is definitely encouraging. The channel recently got, I think, towards 1,000 subscribers, which really has quite surprised me, because I think, first of all, I think YouTube's pretty intuitive, and I think you don't actually, if you watch a few videos from a channel, you don't actually need to subscribe to it. Usually YouTube will throw the videos up in front of you next time you're on there anyway. So I tend not to try to encourage people to subscribe or even mention it really, or or like. I think people know where the buttons are. They'll hit them if they want to, and it doesn't really need me to ask them. It's just me with a a phone camera, and it's really quite a geeky channel as well. I mean, okay, maybe I'm insulting a few people by saying I think most model train channels are perhaps a bit geeky, and I say that respectfully as a self-confessed geek. But I think this is especially geeky with the Arduinos and the programming and all that kind of thing. So it's probably quite surprising that people do show an interest. So thank you. It's not something I'm never going to ask for money or anything like that. It's just me recording this for posterity. I was really grateful that I'd done the first layout when I moved out of the house that it was in, and I didn't really have access to it anymore. I was really pleased that I had those videos because I could go back through and look at them and remember what it was like and how it was. So nothing's forever. I might leave this house again at some point, so it's nice to have these videos to remember how it was and hopefully how it develops and changes over the years. So the last stuff I'd been working on before I got bored and stopped were these infrared sensors in the track in the yard, which will hopefully help. That won't help. Which will hopefully help with the automation and getting trains parked, of having the layout automated and parking them itself. It's taken a lot of wire, it's taken a lot of time, and I got a bit bored of it, but I'm maybe a little bit encouraged to start again now. So that's if I've got the motivation, that's where I'm going to head to next. I did set myself a little challenge in maybe September or October time of trying to have a camera running around on the track and have every train start and stop, every train come out of its siding, do a few laps, go back in, swap tracks, go up and down without a single failure. And I got about half an hour of footage and maybe one or two failures, some of which were just human errors on my part. I think the worst was just an uncoupling and that kind of thing. So if I've still got the video, I might dig it out, because I never put it on the channel, and I'll put maybe some edited highlights of trains running around quite well on the layout. And with the temperature now having risen to a lofty 10 degrees, my feet are still feeling a little bit numb, so I'm gonna head downstairs, maybe edit this together and put it up, and see what I can add on to the end as well.